Hello and welcome to Dempsey Books. I'm Bev Short and I'm your host. Multiple sclerosis is the most widespread disabling neurological condition affecting young adults in the world today. You can be diagnosed with MS at any age, but most people develop it between the ages of 20 and 40 years old, with women being twice as likely to develop the disease as men. Now, my guest today is Laura Dempsey from my hometown of Wellington in New Zealand. Now, Laura's life was literally turned upside down in 2009 when she was diagnosed with MS, but she has fought very hard to reverse her disease, and she's on the show with me today to tell us exactly how she did that. So welcome, Laura. Hello, my darling.
Hello, Bev. Lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
It really is lovely to have you here, really lovely. Now, in 2009, I understand it was New Year's Day for you. You woke up and it must have been the most terrifying experience for you because you'd had no idea beforehand that anything was going to go wrong. So what happened that day?
Well, it was actually the 1st of January 2009. So it was the day after New Year's, and we had New Year's Eve rather. So we had hosted a New Year's Eve party. So I have to admit, there was a little part of me that thought, oh, did I just have a little bit too much to drink last night? And this is part of the problem. But I thought a lot happened. But that day I was really unwell, and my vision started to go quite funny. So when I say funny, it was like the whole world was on a trampoline, jumping up and down in front of me. And because I'd had quite a big night the night before, I thought, well, maybe I just need a good night's sleep and I'll be right in the morning. But actually, I just got worse. So the next day I woke up, my vision was still jumping up and down. My legs were quite weak. I was sort of walking like a drunk. And then I don't know why I didn't go to the doctor straight away, but I kind of left it for a few days and thought it will be right. Yeah, don't do that, people. So eventually I went to the after hours because by the time I decided I should go and see what was happening, all the doctors were closed. And because I was feeling okay, apart from this vision and my balance, they just thought that maybe I was having a migraine. And so they said, look, go home, sleep it off, you'll be right. And then, of course, I wasn't right. I just got worse. So eventually because the vision was up and down for so long, I became sick. I got motion sickness. So I started vomiting constantly. I just couldn't stop vomiting. My walking got worse. My words started to slur. I started to stutter. And the only way I could really sort of express how I was actually if you visualize someone who'd had a lot to drink one night and had a really good night out. That was what I was like. So that sort of happened over a 2-week period. So it just slowly got worse, but I kind of got a little bit better and then I got worse again. And I got, oh, I'm all right. And then I'd get worse again. So eventually my husband had to quite literally carry me to the car. Put me in a wheelchair and take me to the doctors, and they thought that my vomiting was the problem, and so they gave me an injection to stop the vomiting, and then I could sleep. I was a little bit better, and we actually went away for 10 days down in the South Island. When I say I was feeling a little bit better, I still had pins and needles in my mouth and my hands, and my children still had to hold me so that I could walk in a straight line.
But that must have been were you not absolutely terrified?
It was. I think deep down I knew something was seriously wrong with me. But I kind of just brushed it away and thought, I'll be right. So anyway, I got really bad the day before we had to come back to Wellington. And I had to pretend when we got to the airport that I was fine because I didn't think they'd let me on the plane if they knew just how unwell I was. And then I had already made an appointment to see an ear, nose and throat specialist on my return back from my holiday. And he diagnosed me with vertigo, which was why my vision was so funny. And, you know, he said, look, it can take 6 weeks to recover. So don't worry about that. But when I said to him, look, I'm getting pins and needles in my hands and my feet, and my legs are quite weak and got numbness in my face, he said, well, I think we should get a scan done on your brain just to make sure there's nothing else going on. He said, I'm sure it's fine. Don't worry about it. Anyway, it wasn't fine. I got the scan, and by that stage I was really bad. And actually the night before I went to have the scan, I just knew I had multiple sclerosis.
So how did you know that? Because, you know, really, I mean, until I met you, obviously I'd heard of multiple sclerosis, isn't it? But I didn't really know what it was. So can you explain to people what multiple sclerosis actually is?
Yeah, well, like you, I knew nothing about it either. I know a lot about it now. Multiple sclerosis is they believe it's an autoimmune disease. And what it does, it attacks the central nervous system. So the nerves all attach to your brain, down to your spinal column, down the, I can't remember what it's called now, but anyway, down the spine. And it's the best way I can describe it is it's like a build-up of plaque, and they will grow on certain areas of your nerves, and then they suffocate the nerves because they're inflamed, and they sort of hold on really tight to the nerves, and that's when you have a relapse. And then eventually they go away, but when they go away, they leave scarring on the nerves. So where your nerves have a nice coating on it to keep it nice and supple, and the messages from the brain, I don't know if you can see here, but from the brain, the messages are meant to just sort of skip along nicely like that. When you've got scarring, however, what happens is the messages skip, and then wherever the scarring is, it will drag. And then it will skip again, and then it will drag. And the reason why MS is quite difficult to diagnose or difficult to sort of explain to people the effect that it can give people is because it affects people in different ways, because it all depends on where the plaques develop. Mine, fortunately, are all in my head, but other people might have them all the way down the spinal column, which will affect their walking. For me, it affected my eyesight and my balance and my speech. So it affects people in very different ways.
So so when you were diagnosed with MS, what did the medical system do for you at that time? So that was in 2009. So that was what, 8 years ago now?
8 years ago, yeah.
So things probably have changed a little, but what help did they give you at that time?
So back then it was different, and obviously we're in New Zealand, so it's different again. So people from around the world will have different experiences. But for me, I was fortunate enough to go and have an appointment with a neurological specialist straight away, the very next day. And essentially he said to me, look, you definitely have MS for the fact that we can see from your MRI scan, we can see from your behaviour and the way your body is that that's what it is. But we can't technically diagnose you with MS until you have 2 relapses in 1 year. We can't give you anything for it. There is no cure. And really, all I can say is that you'll probably get a bit better, but I don't know what your prognosis will be. So go home and give us a call if you get worse. That was it, really. Which was a little hard, you know, when I wasn't walking properly, I couldn't barely talk. Yeah, it was awful.
That must have been soul destroying. Yes, you've got this. There's nothing we can do to help you.
Yeah, and what he said, it was interesting though, you know, I said to you before that I knew I had MS before I got diagnosed, and I can't explain why I knew, and it sounds a little bit out there, but something inside me told me I had MS, and I didn't know anyone with MS, I didn't know anything about it, but I just knew I had it. At the same time, when I was diagnosed and that was confirmed, that same instinct that I had told me that I'd be okay. And maybe that's just who I am and my positive outlook and trying to be wishful, but I genuinely believed that I would be okay. And he did say to me, look, it's difficult to say what's going to happen to you because it's different for everyone, he said, but based on what I see, there's a 65% chance that you will have another relapse within the year. I actually turned that round and thought that there's a 35% chance I might not.
Yeah,
So I stuck to that.
You're just an optimist, and I really believe that people who take that kind of attitude, towards disease, towards life, can turn things around much better for themselves.
I think so. And, some people, the doctor was really he was lovely, but he sort of laughed at me. He was like, I really like your positive attitude, Laura, but you do know it is a chronic disease, and, there is no cure. And I'm like, yes, I know that. I'll be fine. And I went home, and actually I wasn't fine, even though I believed that I'd be all right. It was a life-changing event, as it would be for anyone with MS or someone who'd been diagnosed with cancer or someone who's diagnosed with Parkinson's. Anything chronic or really serious is going to affect you, because the future that you thought you were having has all of a sudden changed.
Yeah.
And you have to readjust to that. And I didn't know what to expect. And I certainly, at that stage, I was so bad. I mean, I was in bed pretty much the whole time.
Mm.
So I think I was in bed for about 6 weeks. I thought, if this is the beginning, what would the end be? Yeah, it was quite a few dark days. Yeah.
So you went on, though, didn't you? You decided that you weren't going to really just go, okay, that's fine. I've got MS. There's nothing I can do about it. I'll just wait for my next relapse. You decided to do some research, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Well, I should step back. I was a little bit daft, because what I did is I went back to work full time. And I kind of just carried on. I am half British, and it was all very much, keep calm and carry on kind of attitude.
You're a woman. Women do this stuff, It's
I know. It was madness. And I don't know why I thought I was so special that I could just carry on. It was just ridiculous. But I did. And it was the worst thing, because I wasn't ready to go back to work. I couldn't walk properly. I couldn't remember anything. I had to write everything down. I was shaking. I looked like I was, a recovering alcoholic all the time. And but I still carried on, and I'm sure that delayed my recovery a little bit. But yes, so I started looking into the disease. So for the first wee while, it was all about the disease and what it could do for me. What it could do to me, rather. And that wasn't very pleasant. And then it was actually a colleague at work who told me about a guy called George Jelinek, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But he gave me an article and said, look, this is really interesting reading, and I just thought you might like to read more about it. And so I went onto his website and did a lot of reading, and I decided, rather than looking at what the disease could do to me, I changed it around to what could I do to the disease. And once I had that attitude, things changed for me, because it gave me a focus, something quite positive, and in a way an ability to control something. I could control what I could do here, and that was around nutrition and lifestyle changes, which we'll get into. Yeah.
So you also went on a retreat, and you met this guy, George Jelinek. Is he a New Zealander?
No, he's an Australian. Right. So George Jelinek, so I'll just give you a little bit of history about that. There was a neurologist called Professor Swank in the 40s, and he was quite groundbreaking, although nobody actually listened to him in the medical field at the time. But he believed that his patients who followed a really low saturated fat diet, and by low I think it was 25 grams of saturated fat a day, over 40 years did better than those with MS who continued with the usual diet that they were having. And he believed that was such a significant difference that there was something to be said about this. Now, it was the 40s. He wasn't able to publish a lot of his findings in medical journals, so it didn't really stack up in the medical professional world. Now, George Jelinek is an Australian, and his mother had MS and unfortunately committed suicide. Her MS got so bad that she ended her life. It's quite common for people with MS to actually end their life, because it's just too difficult. And he then got diagnosed when he was 40 with MS. He's an emergency doctor, and he took the opportunity at that point. I imagine he knew more about MS than I did when I got my diagnosis, so it must have been incredibly scary for him, because he knew what happened to his mother. He took I think he took about 6 months off work. He went to a retreat. He then started picking up that research that Professor Swank had done. And that is about the low saturated fat diet, which he then said actually people who took, I think it's 15 grams of saturated fat a day did better again. Vitamin D played an important part because there was research to show that the further away from the equator, the higher the rate of MS around the world. And meditation, so mindfulness practice, so eliminating stress as much as possible. So through his studies, he's now starting to put it in medical journals, and people are now starting to look at this. So I became really interested in what he had to say, and he was holding a retreat in the Coromandel, and I think it was about a year after my diagnosis. And so I spent an entire week with him and a group of other people with MS, which was very scary for me because this is my dog, Teddy. like to join in. Sorry. So I was surrounded by a whole lot of people with the same sort of condition, but all very different, and had varying degrees of disability, but all there for the same reason, which was, you know what, just give us a whole lot of hope and see what we can do. And it was just so empowering. It was just a wonderful week away. It was beautiful in the Coromandel, beautiful people, and there was himself, his wife, and who was also a doctor, and another guy, Dr. Hassan, who talked a lot about mindfulness practice and meditation. So it just opened my world, really. It really did.
So when you were diagnosed, there was some kind of scale. I've written it down here, the Expanded Disability Status Scale.
Yes. Oh, yes. So everybody in the world of MS lives by the scale. It does my head in, but yes.
Okay, so when you were first diagnosed, what was your score on that scale?
Yeah. So the scale goes from 0 to 10, and it goes up in 0.5 increments. The higher you are on the scale, the higher your disability. So what it is that the neurologist will do a series of tests with you, and then they will decide where you fit. 10 being dead, 0 being, which, you know, and 0 being no signs of any disability. So that's kind of scale. And they have to use the scale in New Zealand to quantify whether or not to qualify whether or not you can go on the drug. So that's why it's so important. You have to go and see the neurologist every year, and they measure you against the scale. When I was diagnosed, I was at 6.5. So that was not being able to walk very far. I couldn't walk down to the end of my street, for example, and I needed a walking stick to hold me up, or other people to hold me up, actually. Vision, sensor, and I had a lot of numbness in my body. So I was a 6.5 at that stage. Yeah.
Okay. So, but you changed your diet, so you reduced saturated fat.
Yeah.
Okay, so for example, eggs, you would only have the whites of the egg.
Egg whites, yeah.
You don't.
So essentially, because you want to be careful that you're not going on a diet, otherwise that sounds so restrictive.
Yeah.
So what George Jelinek sort of teaches people to say, look, you know, if you become vegan, essentially vegan, you cut out a whole lot of animal fat, because animal fat has high saturated fat content. So if you become vegan and have a mainly whole food, plant-based diet, your saturated fat is naturally going to be very low anyway. And then you don't have to worry about weighing and working things out. So essentially I'm vegan. I do eat fish, and yes, egg white I do have from time to time, but not too often. But the rest of the time it's a plant-based whole food diet.
So no other form of meat, no chicken, no nothing.
Nothing.
So
nothing.
No dairy products.
No dairy, nothing like that. And very little processed food. Most of it is very basic, you know, start from scratch kind of stuff. So I know what's in my food. Yeah.
So you've been doing this for quite a few years now. So how many years do you think that you've changed your diet?
Oh, I would say it's about 7.5 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know the answer to this question, but you can tell everybody else. So the changes that you've made, you've done it through your food. You've started mindfulness and meditation.
Yes.
You exercise regularly.
Yes.
And what is your score on the scale now?
So this year was my first year, so it's taken a long time, but I'm now at 0, which even the doctor and nurse was quite surprised by. I was able to drop it down to about 2.5 for a few years, and they sort of thought, well, that's pretty much where you'll stay, on a good day. But this year I dropped it even further to a 0, which just really surprised them, and I was just on cloud 9, really happy. Took a long time though, and it was hard work.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't happen. These things don't happen overnight.
No,
not like
they don't.
I'm going to go vegan, so my MS is gone tomorrow. I mean, it doesn't work like that. Nothing works like that.
And this is what I've heard a lot of people who have, not just with MS, but who have heart conditions or other, chronic illnesses, who have said, I tried that and it didn't work. And I'd say, how long did you try it for? A couple of months, a year, maybe 2. And, I say to people, well, I was 35 when I was diagnosed. So it took 35 years to get to that point. So why would I think it would just take a year or 2 to fix it? And I don't proclaim to say that I am cured of MS. I will always have MS. And I still have bad days. My fatigue can get to me some days. But I've learned to listen to my body more, which is where mindfulness practice has been so good for me. My exercise has increased a lot, but there's a reason for that, and that was because, and I know we're not here promoting you, Bev, but you did a lot for me last year. Well, you did, because whilst I was vegan, I wasn't actually too sure what I was eating with the right stuff that I was eating for my body to keep my energy levels up. And you were so good, because you sat down. I remember when I saw you, I thought, oh, please don't tell me that I have to eat meat. Please don't tell me that I need to do this. And it was so great. So like, no, not at all. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
And you helped me fine tune that and teach me what I should be eating and how much protein I should be having. And actually, I needed to eat more. I wasn't actually eating enough through the day, but also I needed to eat more of other things and less of things that I thought were okay for me. And so that helped my energy levels, which meant I then had a better ability to exercise. And that was I did do Pilates for a few years, which was really good because it was on the floor, and that really helped me with my my toning and balance. But with your teaching of how to eat, allowed me then to get my energy levels up, and I started doing lots of long walks with the dogs. And then, of course, we started doing my weight program, which was a real challenge because that was not so easy for me because I had quite weak legs and weak arms, but that has been building up. So it's just sort of perpetuated into I never thought, 8.5 years down the track that I'd be as well as I am now. I think I'm probably healthier now than I was before my MS, actually.
Yeah, because I think what a lot of people don't realize is that when you change things within your lifestyle, how you eat, how you exercise, it's not a quick fix, as we've said.
No.
And also, it's a lifestyle change. It's not something that you do for a year and then you go back to exactly the way you were before. You're changing, and this is creating a new way of living. Yeah. Which is what you have done. And you said to me once that although it's awful to be diagnosed with something like this, it was a blessing, wasn't it? So why do you feel that, tell everybody why you feel it was a blessing.
So I think it's a blessing in the sense that I describe my MS as something that is like my little companion that constantly taps me on the shoulder when I get a little bit carried away with life. When I get a little bit worked up, or I start to work too hard, or I start to stress about things, or I, start to fall into the old habits of who I used to be, my MS just won't allow me to do that, because the first thing on my hands will start to tingle and my numbness on my face will start. And there are still days when my words will start slurring. And that's my MS saying, girl, slow down. You're stressing, you're getting worked up, you've got to stop. So that's the first thing that was great. And it's kind of it's an annoying reminder, but, it's like, it just is what it is. And the second thing about it was it taught me so much about my body and how important nutrition is for my body. I don't feel like I'm missing out when I'm not having all those other things that people have. And trying to explain that to people feel sorry for me when I go out for dinner and I go, oh no, I'm so sorry, we don't have any dessert for you, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. I don't see food as a way of I don't know, food is fuel.
Yeah.
So what I put in my mouth is to help my body. That's how I see it. Yeah. And the rest about food is about being around people and coming together, and eating together. So it's still not about the food, it's about the people and being around them. So my view of food is quite different, which has probably helped me a lot. Because I know for some people where food is an emotional thing for them, that would be really difficult, very difficult.
People get very defensive about food, and the way that they eat, and, I'm never going to change that.
No.
And, I find that odd to a certain extent if if you're educated around the fact that, food can heal you, or it can harm you,
Exactly. And I look at people, George Dillon, I must show you his book in a minute, but, he talked about disabilities and he said, there are people that are significantly overweight. There's actually nothing that they haven't been given a disease, they've just been eating a lot of really wrong food and not been looking after their body. Others who've developed a disease through the food that they've eaten. I kind of sit back and think, I'm blessed that I was given something that isn't going to kill me, but it isn't going to go away either. But at least I'm learning so much, and so with every year I'm just getting better and better. And I do yoga now and put myself in unusual positions and much more flexible, and I often visualize myself at 80 and thinking, when I'm 80 I'm still going to be doing this.
I'll be with you, darling. We'll be down there together, doing it together.
Exactly.
So what advice can you give to women out there? Because women are more likely to be diagnosed with that. Do we know why? Do we know why women get it more than that?
No, it's just simply, men get it as well. And unfortunately, when men seem to get it, statistically, they're more likely to progress into secondary progressive or primary progressive MS because there's different types of MS. And I'm in the relapse remittance, which is the most common. So it goes up and down, which will eventually move into secondary progressive. I say it will. I believe it will if you don't do something differently to your body.
Well, I was going to say that, surely with what the changes that you've made, it's pretty unlikely for you to get there if you continue with what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. When I think about years ago, you got diagnosed with MS and they would actually say to you, rest, don't exercise, rest.
But George Jelinek has said, hasn't he, even if you can't exercise, visualize it.
Visualize it. Yeah, when I was on the retreat, they said that. They said, if you're not able to exercise, because some can't. And I don't want anyone who's got MS here who is further down the scale looking at me and going, oh, great, what have I done wrong? Because it's not a matter of that at all. For some, they just can't. And when I was at my worst, I couldn't. But it was the case of just doing what you could and visualizing it. So, and I guess it's that, the power of positive thinking and all that sort of stuff. Just visualizing, and often in your meditation, visualizing that. With my meditation, when things get really bad, I'm in quite a bit of pain and my pins and needles are all over me, I actually meditate on that, and instead of seeing that as oh no, my MS is playing up, I see that as my nerves letting me know they're still there and they're just massaging themselves and reconnecting. So I just changed my thinking there.
So what sort of things would you say to people, to women out there who are suffering from MS? They haven't, necessarily got the information that you have. What advice would you give them?
I'm just going to grab this book in a minute. Okay, well, first of all, I think from my point of view, even if not just MS, any chronic illness, give yourself some time to grieve, because it is a grieving process, and I think it's an important step. You do need to allow yourself to kind of get your head around the fact that your future isn't what you thought it was going to be, and that it's not nice. You're allowed to cry, because it's not fair. It's not bloody fair. So allow yourself to grieve, and I think I didn't actually allow myself to grieve at that point, and I regret that because I had to do it later. Then research, look at things as much as you can in the way of what you can do to help yourself. Because I think as a society, we're so good at going to the doctor and passively sitting there and say to the doctor, tell me what you can do for me, and fix me. And when you've got a chronic disease, they can't fix you. They might be able to help you with something, but they can't fix you. So all you can do is sort of work on yourself and figure out what it is that's important to you, what you want out of life, and do whatever you can. I worry about giving advice because I'm mindful that there'll be people in different places that might not be in the right space right now. But I think in regards to MS, one of the most wonderful websites that I always tell people to go to is a place is I don't know, can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Overcoming multiple sclerosis.
Yes. And the website, there's a website here, and if you were just to tap in, well, if you actually just type in overcoming multiple sclerosis, I think it's the first one that pops up. That is just a wealth of knowledge. And I bought the book, which I encourage people to get. This is the older version. I think there's a new one out now because there's new medication coming out all the time and more research coming out. It's a fantastic book. It's an easy read, and it goes right down to the science behind MS, how diet plays such an important part in your body, mindfulness practice, meditation, vitamin D. And the other thing that's so good about this book is that I've often taken it to my doctor. So when we've talked, she used to sort of say, well, Laura, I don't know about this. And it was really good to say, well, look, here's the book, and this is what the book says. And at the back of the book, there's actually publication where this has been published in medical journals. So straight away, they're a little more interested and think, okay, well, I know that journal, I'll go and read that up myself. So it's been quite a powerful tool for me. So that would be the first thing I'd recommend, is to have a look at that, and then have a look at the website. Lots of there's a forum there's people that can talk to each other, there's a Facebook page, so you can kind of connect with people all around the world. I'm not a member of the MS Society, and I haven't joined anything for no other reason. It's just that I didn't feel the need to do that. I'm quite content to work on my own and do my own research. But now I'm at that point where maybe I am ready now to talk to others and maybe support other people who are going through it. So I think that's the first thing. I mean, it's very easy to go online, and there's lots of blogs with people with MS and a lot of people that like to talk about the negative stuff.
Well, I think, you can go onto the internet and you can just worry yourself stupid. It's knowing where to go to find the positive stuff. And I think the main message really that you're trying to get across there is to be your own health advocate. One of my other guests that I had on, Irma Jennings, who was diagnosed with osteopenia, she said the same thing. And the doctor said, oh, there's nothing you can do. Take some calcium supplements, right, you're going to get osteoporosis, boom. And she decided that she didn't want to have that diagnosis, so she went and did her own research. And she's, changed her life. And there's so much research out there to prove that food is a healer. I mean, all medicines are based on making them from plants. They're mostly synthetic now, but originally they were made from plants. So anyway, well, listen, thanks so much, Laura, for coming on.
Thank you.
I think you're an inspiration. You certainly are. You've done amazing work on yourself. You stuck in. You've kept that positive attitude, which is, what people need to get through this kind of thing in their life. So,
thank you, and thank you, Bev, for being there last year in particular and helping me into that last little piece of the puzzle, as I call it, and helping me complete that. It was wonderful.
We were just tweaking it. But, thank you everybody for watching this episode of Bev's Talks, and always I ask if you enjoy it, please share it. Other people might like to hear what Laura has been telling us today. There's a lot of people with MS out there who are suffering and who don't have this information, and it's always lovely to give people hope. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you want to find out about the work that I do with women over 40, you can find me at my website, which is www.bevshort.com. So thanks again, Laura, and thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time. Okay, bye. Bye, Laura.
Bye.